And here to have these conversations with me is Gilbert Olanya, MP Killer. Good morning to you, Gilbert.
Good morning, my sister.
How are you?
I'm very fine.
Are the people of Omoro ready?
Yeah, at the look, I can see people are very ready, but only that the ground is not all that well leveled. You know, there's a lot of deployment. You know, our people are scared with deployment. You know, we have been in the warring situation for long.
But deployment is very necessary for this exercise to be peaceful.
Yeah, it is quite necessary, but according to our people, it's quite unique.
Okay.
You know, our people are used to voting peacefully, and people were expecting just the normal voting day, but not deploying roadblocks everywhere. You know, the moment you leave Gulu City, the moment you enter Omoro, you start fighting roadblocks, security is deployed everywhere. In fact, people are scared.
Okay.
Yeah,
all right.
Whereby I suspect the heavy deployment may even scare away other people.
We'll come to that. Yes. We are also having Honorable Mike Sevalu, once a Honorable, always a Honorable, former East African Legislative Assembly MP, getting to help us analyze the situation in Omoro County. Good morning to you, Honorable Sevalu.
Yeah, good morning, Priscilla.
How are you?
It's been long since...
It's been a while.
But you're looking
since
good.
Since last elections,
yes,
by the way.
Yes,
now we are back again, still having a by-election conversation.
Yes, it's a pleasure having me this morning. I want to appreciate my brother, Olanya, the namesake.
Yeah,
that name is influential in the election.
Okay, all right. So I'll start with you, Mike. If you were a voter in Omoro this day, what would you be looking for in your representation in Parliament?
Yeah, thank you very much, Priscilla. Definitely elections come along with a number of issues. First of all, I want to see an issue-based electoral process, and where candidates are addressing issues. Issues of the economy, issues of employment, issues of community development, engagement, mobilizing people for production. So there are a number of issues that definitely do pertain, but that would depend on the nature of the election. The by-election that we are having this time around is occasioned by demise of a very prominent member of the community, a prominent member of a party, having been a vice chairman of NRM in the northern region, a very prominent national figure at the rank and level of a speaker of parliament. So definitely there is no way you can disentangle the personality that is being replaced in terms of informing the process of replacement. So many people would want to see his replacement in many ways, but most of them should be feeding into the kind of person he was. He was such an eloquent debater, so people would want to see eloquence in that aspect. He was someone very prominent in a ruling party, so some people would want to see that retained, someone representing the party that he belonged to, taking the mantle. And then the name, it may not be that objective, but the emotions are still high. So a member of his family, and more so his son, becomes an issue among the prospects of replacement. So those are the kind of dynamics on the ground that are going to inform the process of the replacement. And you'll find that all the conversations around this campaign are centered around those issues as a factor on the ground.
Well, let's turn to Honorable Olanya here. If you were in the shoes of someone who's going to the poll today in Omoro County, what would be the expectations of this person representing you and representing the area in Parliament?
Yeah, you know, as my brother said, right now in Nacholi sub-region, people are looking for developmental issues. And mostly the campaigns were mostly surrounding the development.
The underdevelopment, actually.
Exactly. Yes, the underdevelopment. If you look at Omoro County compared to other areas, and if you look at the person who was representing Omoro County, the person was number 3 in the country, and he was number 5 in the country for 10 years. So if you look at the road, I think Omoro County is the only county without a tarmac road in the Acholi sub-region. Most of the counties has at least tarmac road passing through. And there's one road that people have been talking about it all along. That's called Moroto Road, from Gulu connecting to Moroto. You know, what we now wish, as my brother said, we need someone who will come and really fit in the shoes of the late Right Honorable Jacob Olanya. And looking at the candidates that were giving out their manifestos, I think our people are going to decide today. And I pray that the voting should be free and fair.
Okay.
And as we talk now, as I stated earlier on, our people are quite scared. It looks as if the election may not be free and fair, because the deployment alone indicates that something fishy is going on. And if you look at how the campaign were being held, the dissing money to voters, bribery, people were being given money the whole night, moving from home to home. I think that's not all that okay. And my brother, who comes from NRM, is like now NRM is giving vote of no confidence to themselves. They think that people don't like them. They think that voting in free and fair manner will never give them a win. That is why wherever there is a by-election, they must make sure they bribe voters, they intimidate, they arrest opposition. I think this is not all that good.
One of the challenges the NRM is facing, Sebalu, is the fact that you do have 2 other candidates that are from NRM, and they've come on as independents simply because they were contesting what did not happen. They expected primaries to happen with the NRM, so that those that were wanting to represent the NRM or carry the flag for this Omoro County sub-by-election could be given the liberty to do so. But then the party decided that no, let's go through, and again the things that you have talked about here, prominency, the name mattered, and finding a person who can best represent or replace the late Right Honorable Jacob Olanya, which happens to be his son. And so he was given a direct ticket without going through the primaries. Now that definitely is showing us division in the vote today.
I think one thing we need to appreciate, for every general rule, there may be exceptions given the circumstances surrounding a given undertaking. In the wisdom of the party at the highest level of leadership, it was found prudent to allow the son finish the term of the dad. Now that was in the wisdom of the party, and it was for very good reasons, not to go into divisions at primary level, and to allow that to happen. And essentially, in a multi-party, discipline is something that we need to appreciate. A decision may be taken, or consensus may occur, not in your favor, but in the big interest, in the interest of the big picture, you do play ball. So it was expected that that was a decision out of a consultative process. You remember there were a team of elders and community leaders who met the chairman of the party, and he shared with them the idea of keeping the party united, of keeping consensus, and of ensuring that this electoral process is handled in a manner that allows the rest of the term of the departed to be completed by the son.
Okay.
That may not have augured well to some, but in terms of discipline, that ought to be the case. But nonetheless, that is there. They are coming in their individual right. They are coming in their individual capacity and individual merit. I guess they are putting up the best of the show from their own perspective. But as a party, as a party, the party structures, the party machinery and activities are geared towards a candidate that was agreed upon. And
some of these activities inclusive of dishing out money and items to that sort of solicit the vote at the end of the day.
I would never be surprised from my friend Olanya. You see, the opposition in Uganda is so smart. They build a scenario to explain their loss ahead of time. But you see, there's evidence
of this scenario. We have seen your party chairman going with sacks of money to different places and dishing them out.
You know, there is one thing we need to appreciate. The money as a factor of managing a process. When money is taken for purposes of getting the party officials to do their work, logistical activities of an election, but not money dished to individuals. I don't have any evidence on that.
So as the party, does the party condemn that particular kind of activity during the campaign trail?
You see, there is giving money, there is bribing, but there is using money to handle logistical aspects of the campaign. So what are the
logistical aspects that are being handled when you're dishing out 2,000 shillings, 10,000 shillings to people who have come to a rally for NRM?
I don't want to go into that because I don't have evidence to that. All I know is that as a party, we get transport for our officials. We get people who are going to serve at the polling stations, and they are facilitated with the lunch and some allowance. Those are officers of the party. That is the kind of expenditure that the party and every political participant does that. Okay. Because you have to get your agents, you have to facilitate them. But there are cases where you even arrange transport for your voters, to have them transported. They are the elderly, they are the disabled, and you work out logistics of ensuring that they get the polling. Those are permissible, and I wouldn't find any problem with them.
MP Olanya, actually the transport that Sevalu has mentioned raised eyebrows yesterday, and it has been speculated to actually disturb the election process today. Of course, you did have the NRM transporting members of its or participants or those that are yet to go to the voting with that particular card. So they were being ferried in, and people were worried that these numbers are being brought into this place at such a time as this, and they made inflate the 38,000+ that are already registered today.
Yeah, I think that is right. And our electoral commission should be serious. During the voters update of the register, people were registered afresh. And the allegation of ferrying people is not an allegation, but it's very true. It looks as if NRM registered people who do not vote in Omoro in the old time. They had to register so many people, and from yesterday, today at night, trucks were seen ferrying people to go and vote in Omoro. I think this is very unfair.
So you were saying that they got people from other places to come and participate in Omoro County election?
When they were registering people, updating voters register, it looks as if they mobilized people from other districts to come and register afresh, purposely for this Omoro by-election.
Okay, and yet through the NRM's lenses, this was you bringing your supporters together to be able to send the message out there in reference to Andrew Ojok, who's the party flag bearer.
No, and Andrew Ojok definitely is a party flag bearer. This election and electoral process is limited to voters in Omoro County. The records are clear. The processes of updating are very clear. And if there is anything outside the acceptable standards of procedure, then one is free to go to court. But my understanding is that NRM is mobilizing its support base within Omoro. So when the numbers now turn out big, they start threatening my brother, and he imagines that Omoro doesn't have those kind of people. Maybe possibly they have to have come from home, from different places. But it is Omoro. Even other NUP has mobilized quite some sizable numbers. Are we saying that all those are not from Omoro just because they appear to be sizable?
Okay.
So for us, we appreciate that this electoral process is for Omoro voters, and we believe that all parties have mobilized within, and the party with the majority will carry the day, and we need to appreciate that democratic
process. Which is in the hands of the voter.
If you allow me to give you information. In the last election, the Right Honorable Jacob Olanya delayed, won with 12,000 votes. The closest follower got 5,000 votes, and the rest 530. The total number of voters in the last election, 2021, was less than 20,000. Less than 20,000 voters. And this time, we are quite surprised. The Electoral Commission is telling us that Omoro's voters are around 38,000 voters. So we are wondering, where did they come from?
No,
if in the last elections, there were less than 20,000 voters, and this time there are 38,000 voters.
I've seen that happen, and actually that should not surprise anymore, unless you are saying that the total number of voters in that constituency is less than that, because the percentage of people who turn out to vote is not necessarily the total number or reflective of the population or the registered voters. It happens. There are areas where the voting can go so low, you even wonder where there are not any people there. It depends on the election, the timing, the issues, and the personalities.
Okay.
Now the issue of Olanya, now the death of Olanya has put that constituent on the spot. So you'll find that many of the voters who may not have participated previously have picked interest and courage to participate.
Well, which brings into direction. While, Honorable, you're coming through, of course, in the last election that you're referring to, there was a tight contest between Jacob Olanya then and Simon Tolit, who was the second when it came to the results. And then you get to have this time round, of course, now this has come about because of the demise of, Jacob Olanya. So now people are more interested in going to the polling stations to actually have their voice heard through the vote that they are placing. But then again, in reference to the last election, your comparison to then and today's.
Yeah, exactly. In the last election, the total number of voters were 21,000. 21,000 voters given by Electoral Commission.
Registered.
Exactly. And then now, only 1 year down the road, not even 5 years, the period of 1 year, what has happened? Whereas more than 15,000 voters coming from.
But you
see, that's only 1 year.
Yes, the people who turn 18, the beauty with the electoral process, once you turn 18, you are. So I wouldn't be surprised that there are those that have turned 18, there are those that had not registered, that have registered, there are those that had registered in other places but have chosen to register there. All those variables can give you even more than that number. It is very possible. Because just look at like Senior 6, for instance. That is the one that I normally use. Just go in all the secondary schools and look at Senior 6, the young people that turn, because once you turn 18, you are eligible. And it is the work of Electoral Commission to update every single person who turns 18.
Okay.
Actually, that's why the update should literally be on a daily basis, because every day someone turns 18 somewhere and becomes a voter. So that is very possible statistically and otherwise.
Let's look at the campaign trail that has been, especially for NRM, National Unity Platform, FDC, and the ANT, with their representations. You've had, some challenges coming through, especially at the beginning of the campaigns, that sort of shaped how the rest of the journey was going to go for them. FDC candidate at that time kidnapped, and that definitely put FDC at a disadvantage. National Unity Platform, as they were heading to Omoro to start off their campaign trail, there was an accident. They lost 2 people, you know, 2 of their supporters. Of course, the NT has also been in there. Kiza being vocal about some of the issues he had with the NRM candidate, Andrew Ojok, being young, not eligible in terms of political background. He has nothing to offer, so he's coming through from that angle. And of course, the son of the late Jacob Olania being in this particular race, and everyone seems to be racing against the son instead of racing for Omoro County.
Yeah, it was quite unfortunate that we lost some people during the election, especially from the Noop, where they got an accident. We really pray for the soul of the departed to rest his peace. And also, FDC candidate, I think there was some trick. You know, as I told you, NRM thinks that money is everything. And it is true, the candidate for FDC was bribed by the NRM. He was compromised, and money was given to him. Do
you have evidence of this truth that you say?
You know, there are other things that does not require concrete evidence. But the party FDC is aware.
Did you speak to him in person, and he did confess that?
Yeah, you know, immediately after the talk show, the man was called by the NRM guys, and they had to play that trick. So during nomination time, the man disappeared, and when they followed him up to his home, the man promised that his documents were all confiscated, and the man said his documents are in Lera.
Honorable Sir, what is your response to this allegation?
So I think
no, you see, my brother and like all other opposition people, he's already done a good projection. In his heart of hearts, he knows the support base of NRM in that area and the likelihood of Ojok winning the day. So there is always this attempt to preempt the outcome by discrediting the process in order to discredit the legitimacy of the outcome. So it is not true. We cannot be responsible for failures, confusion, and the dynamics in opposition parties. When we go for electoral processes, we concentrate on putting up the best campaign machinery, sharpening our candidate to be up to the expectations of all the stakeholders, and preparing ground for victory. So we do our bit, they don't do their bit, but at the end of the day, they want to explain their failure on us.
Olanya, you're still explaining to us how, in your perspective, the campaign trail has actually gone gearing towards this day.
Yeah, you know what is funny with NRM? They normally think that without money, they'll never win the election. Without guns, deployment, they'll never win the election. And they think that those 2 things is key in an election, which is very dangerous. And that is not the kind of democracy we need in this country. But nevertheless, we shall wait to see how the outcome will be. Look at our...
Let him first finish his
look at Noop candidates. You know, right now, as I talk, there are other people who are arrested, the Noop supporters. From within 2 days ago, wherever you are found putting on red berets, putting on the pictures of Bobby Wine and Toilet Akecha, the security personnel were moving from village to village, trading center to trading center, to make sure they arrest all those groups. Why? Why do you intimidate? Why do you go and arrest someone if you are sure and confident of winning an election? That's why I'm saying NRM is not confident at all. In fact, they think that the voting shall ever go against them. That is why the best they should do is to intimidate, bribe, arrest, which is so awkward. And I don't think that NRM believe in the democracy.
Honorable Mike,
that they
we did have
brought.
the head of state, also the chairman for the NRM party, going to Omoro County. We've seen him campaigning for Andrew Ojok. Could this be a deciding factor in the vote today?
Definitely, definitely. The chairman of NRM is a brand and he's a game changer in electoral processes. And his presence there, first of all, shows the level of commitment of the party to their candidate, the level of support from the highest level, and also inspires many of the party followers to ensure that they don't let the party down, they don't let the chairman down, and they enthusiastically, it garners momentum for electoral process and excitement. But what my brother is talking about, you know, we need to appreciate when you have arrests being undertaken during electoral processes. Let's go to the details of what exactly, because there are so many people also who really engage in unconventional acts of behavior to distort and disrupt the electoral process. We have them. So for me, whether those are NRM, whether they are opposition, if they are arrested, then the security forces are simply trying to align the process to the rule of law to ensure that everything is done lawfully. So let's not always defend people who get arrested during the electoral process. If they're arrested innocently, then we have reason to condemn. But there are those who really engage in criminality, there are those who engage in disruptive processes, because my understanding is that once the campaign period is closed off, then you're not supposed to carry any material of campaign nature. And if you're arrested, if you're now carrying portraits and everything, which then is already prohibited by law once the campaign is closed, then I think you are straying beyond acceptable behavior and reining in to ensure that you behave in conformity with the procedures is something that it should be appreciated.
Okay, all right.
In a situation whereby you find a youth put you on the Bobby Wine's t-shirts and the NRM put you on President Yoweri Museveni's t-shirts and you arrest only those who are put on Bobby Wine t-shirt, how do you explain this? Is it a normal situation according to you? Why do you leave the NRM put on the t-shirts for bearing the pictures
after
of
the election?
Yes.
Yeah, you know, I don't want to engage into gymnastics of issues.
But it's a fair question.
Yeah, I'm saying it is fair, but you know, there are two dynamics. I may be putting on Museveni's t-shirt and I'm engaging in maybe criminality. So if I'm arrested, I shouldn't use the t-shirt to defend against what I'm doing. Because there are those who may put on the t-shirts and they are behaving normally and lawfully, and someone will not have reason to apprehend them. Then you find someone is putting on a t-shirt and is engaging in a... So let's
this morning's debate is clearly past t-shirts that we're trying to make a big point right now. Let's look at opposition, Honorable Olanya. Of course, back in the last general election, there was a close contest between NRM and FDC. And then we get to see the same challenge coming through right now. Is Omoro County an missed opportunity when it comes to, you know, opposition unity?
Yeah, you know, just to some extent, we in the opposition, I think, we have missed the point, especially in this election. You know, according to us, we were trying to discuss that if we could front in a single candidate. You know, each and every by-election is strictly between the government and the opposition. And we try to discuss that if we could really come together and front in a single candidate, that would be better. I remember what happened in Omoro when we went in for by-election, whereby the opposition agreed to front in a FDC candidate. That was Akelo Lucy by then. So the campaign was very nice, and we really swept Omoro properly. But this time, I think we also need to mature up as opposition leaders if we really need to take over the government. Because coming up and saying I am very strong, I need to go as an individual within the opposition. And also there's another scenario that we witness whereby the opposition leader on the ground, they move to attack another opposition leader. It means you need to attack the fellow opposition, you attack the NRM, you know, you just widen your
so we might as well comfortably say there's
so
not opposition in Uganda presently if we're seeing such opposition attacks one to another, and yet you're fronting the idea that you should be coming in as one opposition, not FDC, not National Unity Platform, not ANT. You tried to attempt that on the presidential elections, and it failed miserably. So how do you expect that in the near future it should be able to work?
I am praying that through engagement of party leaders, one day, one time we shall succeed. You know, the NRM, they have that trick of divide and rule. When they see that oppositions are about to come together and front a single candidate.
Is it a trick, or it's really the presence of multi-partisan participation in politics? That is what it is.
And, you know, as I talk now, NRM have entered too deep within opposition. And their eyes are now focused majorly in monitoring what oppositions are doing.
Does it not give you a picture that you now have loopholes in opposition?
Yeah, that is true. It is true there are some loopholes within the opposition whereby we need to sit and correct.
And what are some of those loopholes?
I may call it greediness. Within us, there are other leaders that are so greedy. And they think that if we are coming together and front a single candidate, there must be coming from this particular party, thinking that if it does not come from our party, it means our party is weak. Yeah, which is not the case. You know, the moment we come together, like what happens in Kenya, you have seen how opposition in Kenya normally behave. Right now, they put aside all their differences, and they say, let us support this one for the particular cause.
Okay.
So I pray that one day, one time, our opposition leaders, the political leaders should show a kind of maturity. We should come together, and the moment we are together, I am telling you, NRM will be no more. Well, and that's why they are fighting very hard to make sure we don't come together.
Let's talk about the election moving forward. What's going to be the impact?
Do you allow me to comment on that?
Please do comment.
Because for me, the summary, actually the statement he's made has put everything in perspective. And it is clear we have a very weak opposition, which is not strategic, which does not look at the big picture, because now in parliamentary, they look at strengthening their majority in parliament. Every party wants to have an extra person because that has a reflection on the kind of returns they get in terms of support to political parties that are represented in parliament. So if you look at ANT, they are struggling to get someone in parliament so that they qualify to partake of the money that is given to parties in parliament. So now that is a weakness. And the interesting thing is that it is explained using NRM. So it's like we are weak because NRM is strong. We are strong, but we are not responsible for the weakness of the individual parties. We are not responsible for their lack of cohesion. We are not responsible for their lack of unity of purpose. We are not responsible for their lack of strategic thinking. We are not responsible for their lack of planning, coordination, communication, and collaboration.
Mike Sabadu,
so they are responsible for their weaknesses.
You have made a statement and say the bigger picture. So what is going to be the impact of this by-election on the national stage?
Yeah, definitely the impact is that the strong party in that area is going to carry the day. And the candidate and the idea that was conceived by the leadership of the party will have bore fruits because it was a strategic decision taken at the party level to front the kind of candidate that was fronted, looking at the possibilities and opportunities that presented with that candidature. And at the end of the day, the party leadership is going to be found strategic in thinking and projection.
Okay, all right. Honorable, and given the stature of the person that is being replaced in this by-election, from your perspective, what do you feel is going to be the impact of this particular election on the national scene?
You know, the way I look at it, looking at the caliber of the Right Honorable Jacob Olanya, you know, he stated earlier on, he was holding 3 key positions within the government. As the vice chair in charge of Northern Uganda, the speaker, he was already replaced, and the MP. So after the voting and after the election, I think the quality of the person that we need must match the caliber of the Right Honorable Jacob Oulanyah. That is why you had many people were reasoning that among the candidates that were contesting, they wanted someone who is quite mature, someone who can really come and deliberate on the behalf of the people of Omoro. But nevertheless, we are waiting to see the outcome today. And the only prayers that we have is that the elections should be free and fair, and the Electoral Commission should declare the real results that will come out. You know, there's a tendency for NRM for declaring what does not depict the ideas of the voters. And the case in point, we witnessed the scenario of Kayonga, whereby the NUP candidate defeated the NRM badly, but NRM had to declare the NRM candidate forcefully. So I am just praying that we should be mature enough, we should declare exactly what voters have shown their interest in.
Okay, all right.
Oulanyah participated in the previous electoral process, and he defeated many other people. I believe he must have defeated an NRM, because NRM had candidates in all constituencies and electoral areas. How come you are properly announced as the winner, but when it comes to other places, it is done the other way around?
You know, like for by-election of this nature, NRM takes it like do or die, because they really feel very ashamed when they're defeated by the opposition. And then you also know what happened in Kayonga. If you are to tell people what happened exactly in Kayonga, well, you are defeated mostly in all the polling stations. But the end results, you have to declare the NRM candidate.
Okay, so moving forward, after today, what are the expectations for the people of Omoro, Honorable Sebalo?
Yeah, I think the expectations is that they are going to get a replacement, a leader to take over the departed leader, and that leader should be able to use the profile. He's got a good profile. He's a young man, he's learning, and he can learn fast. He understudied his father, he was around, he knows the attributes that were made of the father. So people expect effective representation. And he's got something to fall back to, the track record of the dad in terms of debate, in terms of commitment to his work, in terms of seriousness, in terms of time management. So he's got a benchmark to follow in order to live up to the expectations. So they expect good representation, effective and efficient representation, and put their matters on the table. And at the end of the day, to see service delivery and all outcomes of good leadership
Honorable Oulanyah, what next for the opposition after today's by-election?
We are going to look at the outcome of the results. We shall analyze and we shall sit together. And mark you, we also have another by-election very soon. That is in Soroti. So I think the election of Omoro will give the real picture of the opposition. We are going to sit together. I think by today we shall have got the results. Beginning from next week, we shall sit together as opposition to try to discuss and analyze our way forward.
Okay.
Yeah, because looking at the way we fronted in our candidates, I think it will, you know, everything happens for the good. They divided, we went tomorrow. Afterwards, we shall analyze and see the way forward.
Okay,
yeah.
All right. And so we leave it at that. I guess now it's time for the people of Omoro County to actually decide for themselves who is actually going to represent them well in Parliament and be able to table developmental issues and just akatalekeka Honorable Mike Sebalu, with the NRM, we did have the NRM National Mobilizer making a statement that if you don't vote NRM, then do not expect development within the area code. And of course, there's no tarmac road in that particular county. So in case it does not go in favor of NRM after today, will they not see a tarmac road until the next election?
No, I think good political practice is such that the ruling party is supposed to serve the entire country, because we've got mandate to serve all parts of Uganda. So even when the candidate that makes it to parliament is not an NRM, we have an obligation and a responsibility to serve the entire country. Okay. That would be my take on that.
All right. And Honorable Olanya, have you made your contribution of 1 million as a member of parliament to the Jacob Olanya Education Fund?
Yes, it is true. We contributed 1 million Uganda shillings.
We contributed. Have you contributed?
Yes. In fact, all the members of parliament. Money was deducted right from the source, whereby we are really quite happy for that. You know, he was having a project of sponsoring so many students in different schools, secondary and university. So we are really happy. We contributed 1 million Uganda shillings for all the members of parliament. But on the other statement, it's quite unfortunate for NRM to make other statements. Very, very, very unfortunate. That's how they normally intimidate our people. They tell people in the village, if you don't vote, you'll never have clean water, you'll never have tarmac, you'll never have electricity, which is very unfortunate.
Thank you so much, Honorable Olanya.
For the whole nation.
Thank you so much, Honorable Sebalu, for your contributions. Now, it's up to you, the people in Omoro County, to actually decide. 38,000 have been registered with the Electoral Commission to participate in 84 polling stations today, and we shall be awaiting the announcement of the